Hello everybody. This is an analysis of MICAT 1 for admission to MICA's PGDM and PGDM-C program for the year 2020. The paper pattern was same as that of last year. It was divided into three parts, namely Psychometric Test, which had 150 questions to be answered in 30 minutes, Descriptive Test, which had 4 questions to be answered in 30 minutes, and Aptitude Test, which had 105 questions to be answered in 1 hour and 45 minutes. Talking about the first part, that is the psychometric test. This year, MICAT went back to the conventional format of psychometric test. A total of 150 questions were to be answered in the time span of 30 minutes. Each of these questions had only 2 options. Out of these 150 questions, approximately 100 questions had agree and disagree as options, and the rest had true and false as options. Talking about the second part, that is descriptive test, it can be divided into 2 parts, of which the first was argument or opinion writing. The topic this year was laziness. This was followed by 3 questions, wherein first question asked the aspirants to present 3 arguments detailing the benefits of being lazy, and second question asked the aspirants to present 3 arguments detailing the harmful effects of laziness. Both these questions were of 10 marks each. For the third question, aspirants had to write down 3 points suggesting the ways in which one can reduce laziness. This question carried 20 marks. The second part, or the fourth question of the descriptive test, was creative writing, in which the aspirants had to connect 4 pictures, write a story, and mention the sequence in which the pictures are used in the story. The 4 pictures were of a bee with a camera, a shopping complex with parked cars, window bars, and a man crossing a road to reach a shop. This particular question carried 30 marks. A total of 30 minutes were given to attempt the entire section of descriptive writing. Moving on to the third part, which was an aptitude test. The section had 105 questions and the time given for the same was 1 hour and 45 minutes. The section can be further broken down into 4 subsections, namely Divergent and Convergent thinking, which had 30 questions, verbal ability, which had 25 questions, Quant and data interpretation, which had 25 questions, and general awareness, which had 25 questions. There was negative marking of 0.25 per question. Starting with the breakup of each of these sections. Divergent and Convergent thinking section had 7 questions on word associations, 5 questions on statement assumption, 5 data sufficiency based reasoning questions, and 9 on visual reasoning, and 4 questions based on analytical reasoning. Among these, 6 questions on word association and 4 questions on analytical reasoning were easy. 4 questions on data sufficiency can be classified as easy to moderate, whereas aspirants found the statement assumption and visual reasoning based questions to be difficult. One change that was evident was that the number of questions in word associations were reduced to 7 this year from 10 last year, and the presence of analytical reasoning based direct questions like the one based on blood relations. Difficulty level moderate. Ideal attempts should have been 16 to 17 questions in 35 minutes. Moving on to verbal ability, it had 25 questions. There was just 1 RC with 5 questions. There were 4 questions on synonyms, antonyms, 5 questions on parajumbles, 3 on fill in the blanks, and 4 questions on grammar, and 4 questions based on idioms and phrases. The reading comprehension passage was quite dense, and 2 out of 5 questions were difficult as they had tricky options. Among the parajumbles, 3 questions can be termed easy, whereas the rest can be termed as moderate. Of the total 7 grammar questions, 1 identifying the correct sentence, 3 sentence correction, and 2 preposition based fill in the blanks, 3 can be termed as easy, whereas the rest were of moderate difficulty level. The synonyms and antonyms questions can be termed as easy, whereas 3 questions based on idioms and phrases were quite difficult. Difficulty level moderate. Ideal attempts should have been 13 to 15 questions in 30 minutes. Moving on to Quant, it also had 25 questions spread across various topics. There were a total of 7 questions on geometry, 3 questions each on time, speed, distance, and permutation and combination, 1 question each on quadratic equations, set theory, ratio proportion, and alligation mixtures, and 2 questions on profit and loss. Apart from these, there were 6 data interpretation questions spread across 2 sets. Among these, 1 question each on profit and loss, progression, and area volume can be classified as difficult, whereas those based on heights and distance can be classified as moderate. The rest of the questions were quite easy, and the aspirants would have been quite happy with this section. Difficulty level easy. Ideal attempts should have been 18 to 20 questions in 30 minutes. Moving on to general awareness, this section also had 25 questions, of which surprisingly only 3 questions were based on brands, taglines, and advertising. Of the rest, there were around 2 to 3 questions on current affairs, and remaining were based on static GK. In comparison to last year, the general awareness section this year had more difficult questions. Difficulty level difficult. Ideal attempts should have been 6 to 8 questions in 10 minutes. Now, talking about the cutoffs, please note that MICA only provides the score of Aptitude Test section in the final scorecard. It directly eliminates those students who do not clear the Psychometric Test. Also, it would be important over here to note that MICA uses both CAT and XAT percentile and MICAT score to shortlist aspirants for group exercise and personal interviews. So the MICAT cutoffs will vary as per the CAT and XAT percentile. An aspirant getting 85 plus percentile in CAT or XAT would need 42 marks for a GEPI call from MICAT. An aspirant getting between 85 and 80 percentile in CAT or XAT would need 47 marks, whereas the aspirant who gets between 70 and 80 percentile in CAT or XAT would need 52 marks. Thank you and all the best.